Mr. Speaker, esteemed colleagues, I rise today not only to defend the honor of this House, but to uphold the integrity and unwavering leadership of our Speaker, Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez, against the baseless accusations made by the Vice President Sara Duterte. These accusations that our Speaker intended to harm her or that he is involved in illicit activities are nothing but unfounded and irresponsible allegations meant to distract and discredit. First, Mr. Speaker, let us recognize the kind of leadership Speaker Romualdez has exemplified. Under his stewardship, this House has worked tirelessly to pass transformative legislation that directly impacts the lives of millions of Filipinos. From championing economic recovery measures to addressing pressing national security concerns, the Speaker's vision and decisive leadership have steered this chamber toward progress and stability. These are the qualities of a statesman, one who places the nation's welfare above all else. Second, Mr. Speaker, let us consider the gravity of the accusations hurled against him. To accuse someone of plotting harm or engaging in illicit activities without a shred of evidence is not only reckless but dangerous. Such baseless statements undermine the very fabric of our democratic institutions. They erode public trust and divert attention from the real issues our nation faces. These allegations, Mr. Speaker, are nothing more than a desperate attempt to smear the reputation of a man who has consistently demonstrated his commitment to serving the Filipino people. If there were any truth to these claims, let them be backed by credible evidence. But what we see here is not evidence. It is mere noise, crafted to create division and chaos where unity and focus are most needed. Let us also ask, why is the Speaker being targeted? Is it because of his success in uniting this House under a shared vision for progress? Is it because his leadership has garnered respect and trust not just from his colleagues here, but from the Filipinos at large? Or is it simply because his integrity and competence stand as a stark contrast to those who thrive on baseless accusations and political theatrics? Mr. Speaker, this chamber must stand firm against attempts to tarnish the reputation of its leader. Speaker Romualdez has always conducted himself with honor and dedication. His track record of service speaks louder than any false accusation, and his commitment to the rule of law and public accountability remains unshaken. I have known you, Mr. Speaker, as a conscientious public servant. In the short span that you have discharged your duties as Speaker, I can honestly say that you have treated all of us fairly and that in all the conduct of affairs, you have always displayed decency, bearing, and character that bespeaks of a statesman. Through all the attacks and accusations that comes with a position, I see you always taking the high moral ground. By any measure, your calm and calculated bearing stand tall among all of us amidst all the crisis, a distinct trait that all leaders must possess. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues and the Filipino people to focus on what truly matters. The Speaker's consistent efforts to build a stronger, more united, and more prosperous Philippines. Let us not allow baseless accusations to distract us from our shared mission of service to the nation. The Speaker has our trust, our confidence, and our unwavering support. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished colleagues, I rise today in utter disbelief and righteous indignation over the Vice President of the Republic, Sara Duterte, admitting that she has contacted an assassin to kill none other than President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos, and our beloved Speaker, Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez. Mr. Speaker, this is no trivial matter. This is not an offhand remark that can be swept under the rug. This is an admission by the second highest official in the land of a premeditated intent to harm the highest leaders of our government. This is a direct attack on the presidency, on this House, and on the very foundations of our democracy. Let us call this what it is: treachery in the highest order. It is a betrayal not just of the President and this institution, but of every single Filipino who entrusted her with power. How can someone sworn to uphold the Constitution and protect the people conspire to commit such an act of unthinkable violence? How can the Vice President, who is expected to be a unifying figure, admit to plotting an act that could destabilize the entire nation? Mr. Speaker, let us not be deceived by any attempts to downplay or justify this admission. This is not about personal grievances or political rivalry. This is a threat to our national security, our democratic processes, and the rule of law. For the Vice President to even contemplate such actions is a gross abuse of power and betrayal of the office she holds. Mr. Speaker, we must act, and we must act now. How can the Filipino people trust a leader admits to contracting an assassin? How can we continue to allow someone of such dangerous tendencies to occupy one of the highest positions in the land? This is not a question of leadership. It is a question of morality, of accountability, and the survival of our democracy. The House must take immediate action. We cannot simply express our outrage and move on. We must call for a full investigation into the Vice President's admissions, not just for the sake of justice, but to protect the integrity of our institutions and to ensure the safety of our leaders. Mr. Speaker, the behavior cannot just be tolerated. This is not about politics. This is about the survival of our democracy and the safety of our people. We demand answers. We demand accountability. And we demand that the Vice President face the full force of the law for her actions. Let this House stand united in defense of our democracy, our leaders, our people. We cannot and will not allow anyone, even the Vice President, threaten the very foundation of this republic. Maraming salamat.
Honorable Speaker, esteemed members of the House, good afternoon. I rise today to express my unwavering support for the House of Representatives and our Speaker, the Honorable Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez, in the light of the recent events faced by our institution. The House of Representatives stands as a cornerstone of this nation's democracy. As we carry out our mandate and stand to uphold the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, we operate on established rules and procedures to ensure transparency, accountability, and order within our walls and beyond. Over the past few days, we witnessed the blatant disregard for these rules and protocols by no less than the second highest official of the land. I take this opportunity to reiterate that this august chamber must be accorded the honor and dignity befitting its status as the House of the People. To disrespect this chamber is to disrespect the people we represent. No public official, regardless of rank, position, should consider itself above and beyond the 100 million strong Filipino people by obstructing the lawful proceedings and orders of the House. The wanton breach of protocol, the use of vindictive language, and the threat of harm aimed at the leaders of our country show a deep and encompassing disrespect for the rule of law and democratic institutions that we have sworn to protect. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can do better. We must remember that our actions set the tone of public governance in this country. I applaud President Marcos and Speaker Romualdez for their patience, restraint, and ability to rise above the fray by blocking out the external noise and focusing on the work that needs to be done. I urge all of us to follow their example. Let us continue to do our work, no matter the obstacles put in our path, and remember that it is in our collective strength that we have achieved all our legislative goals and more. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang ating mahal na Pangulo, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Mabuhay ang ating House Speaker, Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.